Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And today we've got a guest with us, Jill Wilke, who is the Executive Director of Wonderland Camp. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. Okay, so everybody in the community has heard of Wonderland Camp, right? Because you guys really get out and you're in the community a lot. But a lot of people don't know what Wonderland Camp is, where it is, what you do.
Right.
So tell us, where are you and what do you do?
So we're out in Rocky Mount.
Okay.
And we are an overnight camp for people with disabilities. We start as young as 6, but what's special about us is we never age out. So we literally have campers in their 60s, 70s, 80s. And last year we even had a camper who was 92.
Wow.
First time at camp. And so it's just, we have 150 acres. It's a great opportunity for people with disabilities to come out and enjoy nature and do things they can't do anyplace else.
I saw this video, and it wasn't too long ago, just a few weeks ago, of one of the campers showing up, and I think like their mom brought them, and the camper just broke down crying because they were so happy to be there. And I'm guessing this is one of those campers that has been there several times, and I mean, it's like showing up at heaven or something.
Right. Our campers are so excited to come. And that video is so cute because he's just shaking and he's so excited. And actually, this was his first full week at camp. He had come to family camp in the spring and loved it. And then his sister surprised him that he got to come for a week, and he that was priceless.
Yes, that was really
wonderful.
Cool. Okay, so you are actually the granddaughter of the founder of Wonderland Camp.
You're right.
So your granddad started this, and now you're running it. So tell us about your granddad. How did he get this whole thing going?
Well, he had 2 sons. My grandparents had 2 sons. My dad, Keith, who was healthy, and then they had a son named Philip, who had a syndrome called Prader-Willi syndrome, which is a really rare syndrome. And at the time when he was born, they didn't know what was wrong with him. They thought that he had some brain damage from birth. However, it turns out that the syndrome he had is a chromosome issue, just similar to like Down syndrome.
Right.
And because of that, when he was born in the 40s, a lot of people hid their children with disabilities away.
Right.
They were sent to institutions, things like that. And my grandparents really were very progressive for that time, and they did not want that. And they had Phil in school and mainstreamed him for as long as possible. And they felt that every child had the right to an outdoor camping experience, no matter if they were healthy or if they had a syndrome or disability. So my grandfather worked for General Electric. He was one of the vice presidents at the time.
Okay.
He was also a lieutenant colonel in the Army.
Wow.
And so when he retired from both of those things, he bought the land out at the Lake of the Ozarks and started Wonderland Camp.
I'll be darned.
And so that was in 1969, which even in 1969, even in the 70s and even early 80s, people still hid their children away. So he really had a great vision for everyone.
Yeah, it was really a stigma, much more of a stigma back in that day. And I've seen some of the early pictures that you sent me. It was very raw. It was very rugged and raw.
That's right. It certainly wasn't meeting today's disability standards. So, the very first cabin was a school bus.
Wow.
And they took all the seats out of the school bus and put army cots in there and lifted up people who were in wheelchairs into the bus and gave them the time of their life. So, And the first cabins, there was no air conditioning, nothing like that. There was a bathhouse. We've come a long way since then, but But it shows you that everybody likes to have a vacation, likes to have fun. And so it didn't matter really at that time that the facilities were pretty primitive.
Yeah, and it kind of shows and proves that it's not that you have to have the best and most wonderful facilities. It's the experience, it's the being there, stuff like that.
Yes.
So you grew up with all of this. Were you around and got to see the evolution of the camp over the years?
Well, yes. My sister and I are the only grandchildren. And so we were here every summer, of course, and we watched as things grew and changed. And down at the lakefront, my grandparents have a house on the lake that actually my husband and I live in now.
Wow.
And you can see the camp lakefront from that dock. And we would often watch the fireworks and the cookouts and things down there. And one of my greatest memories is when the kids would come on the pontoon boats and they would go past our dock and they would yell, "We love you, Mr. Miller, we love you." And they would wave and cheer. And it's a great memory.
Wow.
And now who would think this? My husband now drives the boat, so he is driving the kids. I can't imagine that my grandfather ever really imagined that how involved our family would continue to be 54 years later.
How happy he must be. If he's up there in heaven and he's looking down, I mean, he's got to love the way this has progressed.
I would think so,
yeah,
yes.
That is amazing. Okay, so we're talking with Jill Wilke. She is the executive director of Wonderland Camp and the granddaughter of the guy who started the whole thing back in 1969,
right.
I guess, right? Okay, so we'll continue to learn more about Wonderland Camp when we come back on the Community Spotlight Show. If you love the lake, you gotta love Lake TV. At COMC, your health is our mission. Central Ozarks Medical Center offers pediatrics at 2 lake locations and 3 OBGYNs at the Osage Beach Clinic, offering same-day appointments. At COMC, our doors are open to everyone, whether you live at the lake or just here visiting. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Get more info on how COMC can help you at centralozarks.org. COMC, where your health is our mission. If it's happening at the lake, it's happening on Lake TV. From the polar plunge to festivals, parades, aquapalooza, and boat shows, Lake TV has it all. Even the granddaddy of them all, the shootouts. If you're looking for places to party, things to do, or even a new home to move into, you've gotta love Lake TV. Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show, brought to you by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center. We're talking with Jill Wilke, Executive Director, Wonderland Camp, the granddaughter of the guy who started it all. So you spent most of your career in nursing, right?
Correct.
Not running Wonderland Camp. And I mean, not just regular nursing, that's hard enough, but in some very emotional, intense stuff, right? Like neonatal intensive care and pediatric intensive care, emergency, and I mean, hospice. These are some heavy duty things. Did you enjoy that?
Oh, I love that. I think providing a service for families and support and being there for them in their time of need is something that's really rewarding.
Yeah.
I did that for 30 plus years.
Wow. I'm guessing there's so much emotion involved, and I'm sure you fell in love with some of your patients. It had to take a toll on you emotionally every now and then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And, nurses work really hard. And I was proud to be a nurse. I still am a nurse. And then in administration, I have the highest respect for the nurses that worked for me in home health and hospice.
Yeah, absolutely. So what made you decide to take over as the executive director at Wonderland Camp?
Well, in 2020, obviously, we had a little thing called COVID,
right,
and shut the camp down for the summer. So we had absolutely no income. At that point, I was in hospital administration, and our camp director decided to retire because none of us knew really what was going to happen with that. And so then the board came to me and asked me if I would take over as the executive director.
Okay.
And so in January of 21, I left my hospital position and took this on. And this is my third summer now as executive director. And we're having a ball and providing a great time for the kids and coming back from the COVID shutdown.
Absolutely. So you're enjoying it. You're liking the job.
Oh, sure.
Good. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now one of the things that everybody in the community notices, you are out and about in the community a lot. You're doing a lot of fundraising and stuff like that. Where does all the fundraising, what does that do? Where does it go?
So we do a lot of fundraising. You know, I think a lot of people have no idea how big our facility is. You know, we have 12 cabins that sleep 18 people.
Wow.
We have an entire health depot, we call it, that is set up almost like a little emergency room in case we need that.
Yeah.
We feed 200 people a day, 3 meals a day. And so the fundraising money comes in, and what that does is it helps us keep the cost of camp as low as possible. Mm-hmm. And our actual cost for a camper to come to camp for a week is over $1,500. But we are able to charge them less than that because of the fundraising that we do.
Right.
And we know for our population that that's important. And we want campers to be able to come and have a great time and it not break the bank for them.
Sure.
Despite the actual cost of it. So when people fundraise for us or donate to us, it goes directly to helping that camper be able to come to camp.
That's pretty amazing, yeah. And I mean, there are families that look forward to that for the entire year.
Absolutely, because if you think about it, to be a caregiver 24/7 is really hard.
Yeah.
And so part of our mission is to provide respite for these families. My grandparents understood that.
They did, yeah.
And so this gives that family a break. We have families that honestly come from all over the country. And so some will vacation here at the lake while they're campers at camp, but some go back and focus on their other children and just take a much needed break.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the future for Wonderland Camp? Have you grown as big as you're going to grow, or do you guys keep growing all the time?
Well, I'm hoping in my next 5 years here that we're going to grow even more. We've expanded from 11 weeks in the summer and 2 or 3 weekend camps to about 15 weekend camps besides the 11 weeks in the summer. And we're making some plans for how we can do even more in the off season during the week. A lot of our campers are in their 20s or older. They're not in school anymore, so they can come during the week in the off season. So that's our hope.
You know, and it seems, and I'm fairly new to the lake community, only lived here full time for about 4 or 5 years, but it seems like the community has really embraced Wonderland Camp. I mean, it's a really good marriage between the community and the camp.
I say all the time that I'm not sure we would still be around if we weren't in this community.
Yeah.
We have tremendous support here from businesses, from local people, from second home people that come and they see the impact that it makes. Even when you were talking about that video, you know, when somebody is so excited, you know, and for most of our campers, this is their only vacation they have for the year. So they're so excited. So we are very lucky to be in the lake community.
Okay, if folks want to get more information about Wonderland Camp, whether they have a camper that it might benefit, help the family, or you guys look for volunteers or workers or any of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if folks are interested in getting more information, how can they get that info?
So you can go to wonderlandcamp.org or you can call us at 573-392-1000.
Okay, wonderlandcamp.org. And you need both volunteers and workers?
We have we have employees right now,
Okay.
but we always add to it. Our camp runs until the beginning of August.
Okay.
But we love to have volunteers and help throughout the year and employees on the weekend camps.
Okay, there you go. So that's Jill Wilke, Executive Director of Wonderland Camp. Thank you for coming by.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it very much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.